Today I'm going to talk about my own vested interests in a bit more detail, just to ground this concept and make it as easy to understand as possible. And obviously I'm sure you'll be able to relate to this. So, for example, my vested interest. When training to be a therapist, I worked as a debt advisor for Step Change. And I realised weirdly around this time, I think there was something in the news about the economy not going very well and lots of people going into debt and stuff like that. And obviously I'm vaguely aware at this point that there's probably a link between financial precariousness and mental health problems. And I realised there's a certain vested interest, at least from a job security point of view, for everything to get worse, for the economy to tank, because that would be good for my job security as a debt advisor. It's a charity debt advisor. I'm not making profit out of it, but I am earning a wage, and the wage comes from people being in debt, basically, and us helping those people. So if more people are in debt, my job security is good. And if everything just goes wrong in general, lots of people are going to struggle with their mental health, which is going to mean that my job as a therapist, once I'm qualified, is also a lot more secure than it would be otherwise. So, yeah, that's kind of the first example I have, and it was an example that I noticed quite early on when I was training. And I joke with my friends about how if it all goes absolutely tits, I could be earning a decent amount. Everyone else is depressed, everyone else is unemployed, the world has gone to hell, but I'm doing all right. I'll be pretty well off, actually. The way to tackle this is to be aware of those vested interests. As a private practice therapist nowadays, there is a certain vested interest for me to still have a certain amount of clients in order to pay my mortgage. And so let's say half of my clients are all getting better at the same time, they're all getting to the point where they don't think they really need therapy anymore. That could potentially cause a little bit of anxiety in me, because that'll have quite an impact on my finances if that happens all at once. And it's about being aware of that. My anxiety is due to my finances and the vested interest I have in clients continuing to some extent. I don't let this impact my behaviour because I'm aware of this. If I wasn't aware of it, if I wasn't reflective on it, if I denied that I had any vested interests whatsoever, then I think I might confuse the anxiety for care for the client. I could kind of bullshit myself basically into thinking that this anxiety is due to really real concern for the client if they stop therapy, and I might convince the client to carry on with therapy. And the underlying reason may well be my own financial situation, but I could convince myself perhaps that it's due to concern for the client. And it's all about reflecting. If I'm not aware of it, I become a victim to these vested interests, and I act in accordance with these vested interests, which obviously is going to screw over my client and is unethical. But it's not. I don't think it would be like I'm a nasty person and I mean harm. It's I'm not bothering to reflect on the power that I have and the vested interest that power creates, and that is what causes problems. And that's basically, well, as we'll see in the video, that's basically what the same principle, but applied in lots of different contexts. So to carry on with this, and this is kind of, I do this all the time. Whenever I do any kind of PowerPoint, I talk organically around it and then realise in the next slide that I've already talked about what's on there. Ethical practice requires vigilance to recognise invested interests, blah, 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 blah. Distinguishing between what's ethical and what personally benefits us. If we can't do that, then we're likely to think we're being ethical and think we're behaving in a proper, and decent way, when actually we're just serving our own interests and screwing over our clients and not being very responsible. It's hard to tell the difference if you don't reflect on these things and you spot the vested interest that you have. As I've said here, though, it is often hard to spot. I'm aware of some, like that I've talked about. There are absolutely going to be others that I'm simply not aware of, and there's going to be some that I'm kind of vaguely aware of. So, one that I'm vaguely aware of, or it's there but I'd rather not kind of observe it all the time, is not giving that much of a shit about animals. I'm more aware of it now. I have cats nowadays, and so eating meat, for example, has become a bit more uncomfortable because I've been confronted with the fact that my cats, at least, are really lovely and living creatures. I've never really had much of a relationship with animals before, and having a pet has made me aware of that. It's been quite uncomfortable though, because I have often enjoyed eating meat, and I've often used like a meat feast pizza, for example, as a comfort food. Meat feast pizza, sausage sandwiches, that kind of thing. It's just a nice little indulgence sometimes. So there's a vested interest there to not give a shit about animals, and just slightly dissociate really when people start talking about the horrible conditions in factory farms and stuff like that. My cats have helped me kind of broke through this, and I reduce my eating of meat as much as possible. I still do sometimes, but I try not to. But it's there, you know, I can't really justify eating meat. And dairy as well, you know, cheese, eggs, that kind of thing. I mean, I can't even get myself worked up over that though. So that's just so far beyond my comfort level that I'm just going to kind of detach from that and convince myself that chickens that lay eggs and cows that are milked, they're treated perfectly well. Let's just go with that. You know, I'm not ready to engage on a proper level with that, because I just can't be asked to go vegan. When I observe that, like I am doing now, it's incredibly uncomfortable, because I try not to spiral into a pit of self-loathing as I observe my moral failings as a person. But the point is that we all do this to some extent. So that's an example of something that I have a vested interest. I am dimly aware of it. I am not aware of it on a constant basis. I try to keep it in the background because my habits are comfortable. And I think this is an example of what applies to all of us.